What is going on? It is Crypto Bobby. Hope you are having a great day, great night, wherever you are watching or listening in from. Sorry, broadcasting this not from my place. So a little bit of a different setup today, but wanted to come in with a crypto happy hour anyway, even though it's the morning. So it's not really crypto happy hour. I could put whiskey in a Dunkin' Donuts coffee, but probably not going to actually go ahead and do that. But a lot of awesome stuff happening in the marketplace in the crypto world right now, or a nice rebound. Let's not get too euphoric or crazy, but depending upon your entry, if you were, if you put fresh fiat into the market, if you got a little bit ballsy, got a little bit aggressive, things have been looking pretty good for you. What's up, Heather, Pamela, Calpesh? Hope you guys are having a good one. Felipe, BTC is dumping. Yes, per usual. Let's blame me for it. Let's do that. So yeah, definitely wanted to talk about a lot of that and more. Merry Christmas Eve to anybody celebrating. If not, happy holidays. Minimum half off of work for this. So, yeah, wanted to pop in, say what's up, talk to you guys a little bit about kind of what's happening in the market in general and my overall thoughts, kind of how I've been playing things, and just answer questions and hang out a little bit. Got plenty of free time right now. A nice cup of shitty Dunkin' Donuts coffee, so we're good for that, and we'll get into it. But I think one of the big things that's been happening recently or in the past few days is Ethereum is up. I want to say over 60% in the past 7 days right now. I unfortunately can't share my screen, but ETH is up about 60, 70% in the past 7 days. And at the around the 110 to 115 mark, I shared my portfolio recently. You guys saw that I had a decent size holding of DAI, or a decent percentage of my portfolio in DAI. That's actually all in ETH. It's been all in ETH since about the 110, 115 mark. So I've, needless to say, been pretty happy seeing that ETH is now above 155. And I personally think that Ethereum is going to continue to run quite a bit. There's a good thread. I'll try and see. I'll see if I can link it after the show, but there's a good thread in regards to the reduction in mining rewards for Ethereum that I think is definitely something that hasn't necessarily been incredibly widely discussed and widely dispersed. And that's happening in mid-January, some of the updates to the Ethereum network. And I do think that that could be a further cause for additional speculation in regards to Ethereum. Also, just to the general point that I think ETH was fairly oversold in comparison to a lot of the rest of the market, getting a lot of shit for maybe not the and just to go to say I am in the, what do you got, the Christmas room, I guess. So it's his bedroom. It's a sun porch. It's a sun porch. Get your mind out of the gutter, homies. And so Ethereum is one that I'm definitely watching right now, and seeing if it can continue to run up. Obviously, 60 something percent is a pretty big move in a week. Granted, it's down a massive percentage still from the all time highs, but 60% in a week is still pretty damn strong. But with kind of where we are and where we might continue to go, I have to think a little bit about taking some profit off the table to buy back in. But I do think, like I said before, with some of the things that are coming up in mid January, I think we might continue to see an Ethereum run that might be a little bit decoupled, at least percentage wise, from Bitcoin and from the rest of the market. Bitcoin in particular, obviously, if Bitcoin, the rest of the market's going to follow. But if Bitcoin doesn't, if Bitcoin is able to, at the very least, stay steady, if not continue to pick up steam above this $4,000 mark, I think you might start to see some interesting plays in the rest of the alt market as well. And happy to start taking questions too. I can kind of read the comments as they come through. So if you guys have specific questions, it looks like somebody's saying ETH dumping. So I have a little crappy Chromebook up on the other screen. So let me see if I can. I wasn't able to bring my good laptop home, so I have a crappy Chromebook, which is why I can't even go live from that, because then it goes down to the absolute bottom. Takes forever to load anything. It's insane. Yep, I go live and we go from one. We go from like 155 to 148 the second I go live. That's fun. That's never happened before, has it? I'm literally the worst luck on planet Earth. So sorry. Apologies in advance for this, guys. Half of that coffee, I don't know, $3, something like that. Felipe, I told you. Thanks, man. It's actually your fault for insinuating that that would happen in the first place. Bobby bought ETH. We can all dump now. I mean, it bought ETH, I don't know, 30% ago. So, yeah, sure. Bitcoin private, that is another thing. Shout out to Coinmetrics and the block. Coinmetrics posted some really good research. This was pretty interesting. Bitcoin private, I feel like nobody really talks about it at all anymore. Thank you very much, Chris. I appreciate that super chat. That's super, super kind of you. Thank you. Merry Christmas to you too, man. Merry Christmas to everybody else and happy holidays if you don't celebrate that again. And hopefully you have off of work today too. But Bitcoin private was one that a lot of people talked about back in like, let's say like early to mid 2018. And there was the whole Bitcoin forking kind of craze in general. But a lot of people were talking about Bitcoin private. And Coinmetrics came out with a really interesting, Coinmetrics came out with some really interesting research. What potato am I streaming this from my cell phone, my iPhone? Hopefully the internet is not that bad, but if the service is really that bad, let me know and I'll take it off Wi-Fi. It might just be really shitty Wi-Fi. But Bitcoin private, so trying to get back to it, Bitcoin private, Coinmetrics came out with research that essentially determined that they did a pre-mine. And so the big private was supposed to be, it was almost like it was Bitcoin, but it was private. Shocker, that's the name. However, somebody injected code into Bitcoin private that essentially pre-mined 2 million Bitcoin private and sent 300,000 of those to exchanges after it was listed on exchanges. So basically somebody pre-mined 2 mil and then dumped 300,000 on exchanges. And the really interesting part about this is a lot of people simply just trusted the metrics of a lot of people trusted the metrics of like Coin Market Cap and some of these other websites. But when you have when Coinmetrics actually looked into the ran a full node and ran in like kind of looked into the block explorer, they were able to go back and literally see this stuff on chain, but nobody ever checked the on chain statistics. So somebody out there initially basically screwed over when there's only supposed to be 21 million supply, or in the future 21 million supply, and then you find out that the final supply could actually be 23 million, and somebody had secretly taken $300,000 Bitcoin private that were not supposed to exist in the first place, and then throw it away. That's definitely not a good look for Bitcoin private. I'm not a Bitcoin private fan. I don't think there's really many Bitcoin private fans left at all. So I don't think it matters that much in the grand scheme of just crypto in general. But it is really interesting to the debate around like don't trust, verify, that type of thing, because Coinmetrics, which is a company Nick Carter runs it. You guys might follow Nick on Twitter. He's a fairly prominent Bitcoin maximalist, or I don't want to say that in a derogatory term because Nick's the man, love him. But he's a Bitcoiner, and they put out some really good research, and they've done some great stuff with Coinmetrics. So I would definitely recommend checking it out. What's up, Brian? And so yeah, it looks like we have. I jinxed it, but sorry about that, guys. But yeah, so we've ETH is dumped. Let's see where Bitcoin is dumping at right now on the other screen after this loads with my potato phone. Market down. So it looks like, yeah, so Bitcoin just dumped a little bit. It is pretty incredible how correlated the crypto markets are to Bitcoin in general, and then from there to how incredible the crypto markets are to Bitcoin in general, and how you're really, if you're looking at altcoins for the most part, if you're trying to either just earn fiat or earn more Bitcoin, you're trying to find the alpha that you might generate by just holding Bitcoin. And it's very few and far between unless you are, for the most part, like really in the know and ahead of trends and certain things like that, versus versus these kind of alt scenarios where like there used to be a case where altcoins would run and Bitcoin would either stay flat or maybe even Bitcoin will pull back. But now the market is just so tightly correlated to what Bitcoin does that if Bitcoin does pull back, you're going to see that happen basically across the board. And we're seeing, I got Coinbase Pro open, and it's looks like basically the second Bitcoin started dipping, Litecoin's dipping, Bitcoin Cash is falling real hard, ETH is falling hard, falling. ETC is dropping, ZRX is dropping. Every single crypto basically is the exact same chart. It's just a matter of how severe the run up and the run down is. If you guys have questions, start throwing them out as much as possible here, and I'll start taking them. And any topics that you want me to cover, anything from I guess opinions on specific shit or whatever, happy to touch on it. What's up, RC Phantom? What did I ask for Christmas? I asked for ski bag. I'm going skiing in Calgary in February. I'm going to Banff, so I don't have a ski bag for flying. So that's what I asked for Christmas. Uh, Excited about that. Never been to Calgary. Never been to Banff. Very average skier, but hopefully I don't kill myself. That would be the ideal thing. Next Jets head coach. That is also something I want for Christmas. Is the Jets head coach to be fired? Um, Bitcoin Cash. Bitcoin Cash, outside of Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash has been very interesting because that got hammered as much as basically anything in the marketplace after the Bitcoin Cash fork, where you had Bitcoin Cash ABC and then Bitcoin Cash SV split up. And separately, they were worth less than they were combined. And Bitcoin Cash had a really big week, actually, probably bigger than Ethereum. At one point in time, I think Bitcoin Cash was up over like 100% over the course of 7 days or something crazy. So if you were able to determine that exit into Bitcoin Cash, sorry, I'm trying to. I should probably go to the other side there. Um, so yeah, that's something that I think like was a pretty crazy opportunity if you were to get into that. So there's one question here. Can I comment on the consensus layoffs and your thoughts as someone who works in a company there? Not sure if you can. Planning on applying to consensus companies, but it scares me. Crypto Stefan. So one quick distinction: AirSwap is actually, so I do work full time, as a lot of you guys know, at AirSwap. AirSwap is actually a joint venture with Consensus, so I don't. AirSwap is not wholly owned by Consensus or anything like that. So as far as like layoffs that might happen at Consensus, which are I think unfortunate, but as far as layoffs that might happen at Consensus, that's something that I am personally unaffected by. So I'm grateful, surely grateful for that. I don't want to get laid off, especially just around the holidays or anytime at all. But I mean, just generally speaking in the space, you do have to do, I think, yeah, you got to do your due diligence and your research when it comes down to any companies. A lot of companies have done, layoffs recently. Status, Steam It. There's a lot of rumors around Consensus layoffs and things like that. The problem that happened, just generally speaking, I think, and this is not exclusive to Consensus at all, but the market went absolutely nuts. There was certainly some, if not a lot of irrational exuberance when it came down to the market. So the market went nuts, and people tried to scale up operations. And this happened. I think Coinbase even laid off a big amount of their customer support team. But companies tried to scale up operations to either meet demand or to continue to innovate in an industry that they thought was going to continue to grow at this hockey stick pace. And turns out that the kind of run up in 2017 was a bubble that popped and brought us back down to earth. So what happens when you scale up customer service and development and all this type of stuff, and then it turns out you either didn't properly plan with runway, you don't have enough money to continue operations, whatever it might be, you're going to have cutbacks, and that's an unfortunate part of life. And it's also something that I sympathize with a lot of these companies. I think a lot of people are like making fun of the layoffs and shit like that. Like, I think that's bullshit too. Like, I don't think that. Who knows? Like, I mean, anybody losing their job, especially like around December, like that's no fun at all. So I number one, whether regardless of the company, I don't want to see any, like, I'm definitely not going to be one to celebrate any types of layoffs or anything like that. But also, in addition to that, I just think that it's a really difficult quandary for some of these companies that if we do see additional growth like that, what do you do again? Do you try to play conservative and say like, okay, we're going to play conservative and we're going to, maybe not staff up a ton about that. We're maybe not going to staff up a ton, but um, if we don't staff up a ton, what if we have competition that comes in and staffs up and just kicks our ass and this thing continues to go and continues to go? Those are actual dilemmas that I think people need to think about, or these companies need to think about when it comes down to it all. What's up, Cracker Daniels? Howdy. Well, market continue to pump with Bakkt coming up. I don't think the pump, this little bit of a relief pump, is anything personally to do with Bakkt. Um, I I think Bakkt is a positive development for sure. I think Bakkt is a positive development for sure, but I don't necessarily think that it's going to have any type of long term impact on the price of Bitcoin or any of these other crypto assets as a whole. I'd be skeptical of that. I think a lot of people are like, "Oh, Bakkt's coming to save the day." I don't think that that's necessarily going to happen. And there's a significant possibility that could continue to be delayed in the future. Crypto Bobby, do you think cryptocurrencies, digital assets, will be the best performing asset class of 2019? That's a tough question. It looks like a nice little bounce at least. But that's a tough question, and we've talked about it a lot before, and especially with the markets and where they've been, you're starting to see some pretty crazy. It looks like a lot of fear in the traditional markets, the traditional equity markets. There's stuff with Trump, the Secretary of Defense. There's the the Treasury. You got Steve Mnuchin doing a bunch of weird things, calling banks and posting about it on Twitter to try and like calm them and make sure that there's no fear. There's a bunch of weird stuff that's happening just in the market as a whole right now. And I do think that people are nervous. I think that there is quite a bit of fear in the traditional markets. But with that being said, I don't know how. And if I knew this, I would be. I can't predict the future, so I'm not going to say I can predict the future at all. I don't think anybody knows because it hasn't happened before. What's going to happen in the cryptocurrency markets if the global equities markets and just the stock market in general just takes a shit? If it does, are crypto, is Bitcoin and a bunch of crypto assets going to be the place in which people shield their wealth from the onslaught of stocks? I don't personally think so. There are a lot of people that believe that. I still have probably like 50% of my net worth in crypto. So if it happens, great. If it doesn't happen, whatever. Um, it's kind of this is a long term play for it's a long term play for me as a whole. But I don't know if I'm still skeptical that we don't have the infrastructure in place, even if like big institutions wanted to really come into the space en masse and like basically hide money in Bitcoin, or kind of weather a storm in the stock market in Bitcoin or some other crypto asset. I don't think that we necessarily have the infrastructure built out in place yet to make that happen. We'll see what happens though when it does. Art, it's crashing. I know. I see it. I see it on the other screen, bud. I see it on the other screen. We'll be all right. Sometimes I'm looking at it, it's still up 16% 24 hours. So let's not go on with the crashing thing. But the stock market bubble has popped. I mean, it's possible. It's possible. It's nerve wracking. Start shooting all the questions too. I'll try and pull up and see what else is happening here. It's fine, kitties. What do I think about Manetha? I haven't touched Manetha since I got in on that ICO back when I got in on every ICO in like 2017, and I have not I have not touched it since. I have no interest. I don't even like. There were so many ICOs. I'll hop on a Facebook stablecoin in a second. There were so many ICOs back then. I was out grabbing beers with one of my buddies, and we were talking about like how crazy 2017 was when you would literally like you would be sitting on your laptop and you would have parity. You'd have the parity wallet open because like that was one of the few wallets that was like fully synced. So you'd have the parity wallet open, and you'd be sitting there like for the 10x ICO or for the status ICO, or like Civic 2. Like Civic was weird because they made you like stand in a line at like a nightclub basically to get into it. But like you were sitting there and they were like, all right, there's going to be this gas limit, and you were just slamming on the transactions because the second your ETH went through, you were like, okay, I put in 5 ETH. Wow, this is on some shitty exchange like Liquid, and it's now worth 20 ETH. Like, what the hell did I do to deserve this? But it was a wild time. It was a wild time. And Facebook coin too. So I talked about this in my previous video. I am not very bullish on Facebook coin. I think Facebook is in a lot of cases like it's antithetical to cryptocurrency. It's kind of the opposite of in many ways like what Bitcoin stands for and what decentralization stands for. This is my stay woke. This is if you want me to go conspiracy theory Bobby on you. Facebook has like the best ad tracking on freaking planet Earth. Um, Facebook has the best ad tracking on planet Earth. What Substratum we'll get to next. I will definitely cover that. But Facebook has basically the best ad tracking on Earth, and because of that, I think if they were to implement a stablecoin or cryptocurrency of any type, if they are the ones who can actually see where all the money is being spent. Like Facebook allows advertisers to target you basically like on shit as detailed as like what you ate for freaking breakfast in the morning, like that morning. Imagine if, obviously not that detailed, but basically, imagine if there is a stable cryptocurrency that they can see the block explorer, maybe anybody else can see as well, but they're able to integrate that data directly into their system and can start to run ad tracking and run ad metrics. That is basically, I think that's like the holy grail for an advertiser. And Facebook's also a for-profit business too. Like I don't necessarily blame Facebook for being like, okay, we're trying to do this, but I don't think it's like doing it out of the benefit to anybody else. Trying to make money. So and so Substratum, shout out to yeah, I just like, I mean, I still have an Instagram account, like not a public one, but I still have an Instagram account. I never go on Facebook anymore. My mom goes on Facebook more than I do, uh, but um, yeah, it's like you see these advertisements on Facebook or on TV now for a portal. It's like, yes, Facebook, after all the data stuff and all the stuff with the elections, like the next thing I want to do is take a screen that listens to me on a daily basis, even though I have Alexa in my place. But I actually buy shit with Amazon, so fuck it. But yes, I want you in my room, Mark Zuckerberg. Um, but going to the next point, so Substratum, this was funny. This is hilarious too. Like that video. Oh man. I mean, I've never had a position in Substratum. I don't think you can short it. Would have loved to have shorted after that video, but I don't have a position in Substratum. But when I think ETH was at like 85, in between 80 and $90, probably close to $90 when they made that video, and they said, hey, we cashed out ETH when it was a couple $100 here, a couple $100 there. We cashed out ETH, we built up our treasury, but now we're trying to, increase our ETH position because we're long-term bullish on ETH. Good, hopefully they are because they still have all their money in ETH for the most part. But we're going to try and increase our position in Ethereum by shorting or by day trading essentially, or by trading. They have a trader. I have no idea that person's professional background. Maybe he is literally a numbnuts. Maybe it is someone that worked at Goldman or wherever else that is a legit trader. I doubt that, but so said, hey, we're going to, we think that ETH is going to drop to $60, so we are going to we are going to short ETH, or we are short ETH from here because we think it's gonna, you get to the top of the band and you short it, and then you buy it at the bottom of the band because shit is that simple in crypto, guys. Look, when the RSI is oversold, you go in, or when the MACD, obviously, you look at the MACD and then you make trading decisions based off MACD. I'm kidding, guys. I'm kidding. I'm kidding at all. But they were short at, I have no idea if they had a stop loss. I don't know. But the market has done nothing but, or the ETH market has basically done nothing but go from not 80, $90 all the way up to 155, now back down to 146. But I mean, either they got like, it's just, if you're not a hedge fund, if you're not a trader, don't think that you are smart enough for the most part to be trading, to be like trading the markets. Like, you can't look at it and be like, oh shit, the Bollinger Band set them at the top of the thing. Oh boom, I'm just gonna short it. Like, yes, that's, I think, I I've sat down with a lot of, I've gotten a chance to meet a lot of the like crypto fund guys. I've gotten a chance to meet them in person. I've literally sat at a table with a few of them before, where they've like taken out their like basically the computer, the laptop that they use to trade, and the models that they run, and the shit that they do, and the back testing, and like the quantitative analysis that some of these guys do to determine a strategy is so many leaps and bounds beyond looking at like a Bollinger Band and be like, that shit's up there. That means it's going down there. Yeah, that's easy as pie, right? Like, there's a lot more if you're like, for an actual like professional trader. Chris, remember when you said Mitchell Trubisky was hot garbage and he took the Bears to the playoffs, all while Darnold is hot garbage? Number one, Darnold is 21 years old. Darnold is 1,000% better than Mitchell Trubisky, who calls himself Mitchell. His name is Mitch. He ain't no Mitchell. It's Mitch. Also, didn't he score 14 points against the 49ers yesterday? Good luck being a first-round knockout in the playoffs, buddy. The Jets do suck. Sam Darnold does not suck. But Todd Bowles getting fired. McCagnon getting fired, and in not next year, but in 2 years, Sam Darnold's third year, Jets will make the playoffs. I'll be a happy man. Bears are good though, but Trubisky's not. Trubisky's your Sanchez. Trubisky's your Sanchez. Don't believe me? Trust me. I've seen a Sanchez before. I've seen it. It's happened. Somebody's getting fired. Everybody's getting fired, baby. And guys, thank you so much for anybody who's watching right now too. If you just joined, hit that thumbs up button, hit the like button. Helps get this video out to as many people as possible. Always appreciate that. So always good to see you. I know we got a bunch of people here, and hopefully you guys, like I said before, hopefully you guys aren't actually working right now, because that'd be a pretty big travesty. So hopefully you're out of that. But taking as many questions as you guys have for me. What are some cool companies in this space that you think a backend developer should apply to? I have a list, but wondering if you have some haven't thought of. There's, I think there's a lot of really interesting companies in crypto, and obviously, if you are a software developer, if you're front end, back end, whatever it might be, if you're front end, back end, whatever it might be, I think you're gonna have a really solid leg up. There's a lot more technical jobs in this. There's a lot more technical jobs in crypto than I think there are outside of that. Like, companies always need more software engineers. So I think if you're, I don't know how good you are, but if you're highly qualified, you're going to have your pick of the litter. So good on you. But with that being said, it comes down to some of these like startups that are moonshot bets, or also looking at whether you want to look for a larger, more established company that's probably profitable and a bit more stable. Like, if you're looking at like the Coinbases or the Geminis, or probably not in the U.S., but like the Binances, or the basically the all the companies in the all the exchanges, or a lot of the exchanges actually have some level of profitability and a business model and probably a lot of funding. A lot of the other projects out there, not many other people are making revenue in the crypto space. So there's certainly a degree of risk that comes with it. For me, that's something that I'm totally fine with and happy with from a career perspective. But yeah, I'm trying to read these. See, have no revenue model besides basically holding their tokens. Exchanges obviously do, but yeah, besides that, there's other ones too. There's other ones too as well that you can look into, like Nomics, which is one that I've showed on the channel a few times. They just got their series. I think they just got their series round or series A round of funding. They have a really accomplished CEO. That's a great dude. And they're planning to be profitable before they raise money again. They sell data subscriptions, API subscriptions for their stuff. So there are other companies like that. check them out as well. Nomics is pretty solid. Love Clay. He's a good dude. MGC Puzzles, Merry Christmas. Enjoy your videos. Thank you very much for that super chat. Very, very much appreciated. Masari does data stuff too. Yeah. Masari is based in New York City. I've met Ryan Selkis a bunch in person. 2-Bit Idiot on Twitter. I'm sure a lot of you guys follow it. Ryan's awesome. His team's great. A lot of good people there. So if you're ever interested in Masari too, I would either apply for that or hit me up, and I could probably introduce you to Ryan. Tron is always hiring. Yes, we see Justin Sun talking shit on Consensus is firing people. Tron is growing. We bought BitTorrent, so we have 8 billion users. Eat shit, Justin. Justin will save everyone. Justin, nobody wants to work for your shitcoin. So we're going to look here at some Tron the movie. Yeah, Tron the movie. I'm speaking specifically in regards to Tron the movie. What? So I guess we can. What do we got here? What was your first year been in the crypto? What is your first year in the crypto industry been like? And then do you follow Overstock stock at all? Overstock stock has been really. It's basically completely mirrored. Overstock has basically completely mirrored the Bitcoin market and the crypto market in general. If you look at Overstock's kind of stock chart, it is crushing it in 2017, 2018, and it has completely retraced. I've met some of the people from Overstock in the past. Nice folks. It's a lot of it's a bet on T0 and like Medici Ventures. I think one of the things about Overstock.com that was interesting, as well as Nvidia and the other mining plays or the other GPU production companies out there. One of the kind of interesting things about those was it was a way to access like exposure to the crypto markets in 2017 and early 2018. You were basically able to get exposure to the crypto markets without having to buy Bitcoin. So if you were somebody that was like, hey, I want to buy, I think this crypto market's going to explode. I think it's going to go way up, but I don't necessarily want to buy Bitcoin. What I can do is I can buy Overstock, OSTK, I think it is. I can buy Overstock. I can buy AMD. Sup, fake Supo, man. Jesus Christ, bro. But I can buy Overstock stock. I can buy AMD, Nvidia stock. And those stocks all did really well when GPU mining was taking off. Overstock in particular, for their work with they own T0 and kind of have a lot of kind of good mojo with Bitcoin. Patrick Byrne is a big like libertarian Bitcoiner guy. So those stocks did very well when the crypto market was hot. And Overstock in particular, AMD and Nvidia obviously have a lot more revenue outside of just GPUs in relationship to mining, but they in particular were Overstock in particular was very heavily affected and very kind of correlated to the relationship with Bitcoin and the crypto market in general. And looking at this right now, it's a nice red candle. Anytime I go live, man, I apologies in advance. This is my Christmas present to you guys, is just a nice red candle as soon as I go live. Where am I? I'm in a colorful jail, Pamela. I'm in a colorful jail. I'm not at my place. I'm at my. This is a Christmas tree. I believe it's a Christmas tree. It's a Christmas tree. We know this, Chris. We know this. Do you think Southeast Asia will adopt crypto first? Admittedly, my knowledge of the Asian crypto markets is lackluster. I haven't gotten a chance to really go out to to go out to Asia and kind of be boots on the ground. There's a couple people I work with at AirSwap that are based in Asia. We have 2 people there now. So I get to hear a little bit through them, but overall, like I think it's kind of one of the places that you need to go to and experience and talk to people there. And one of the things that I thought was good too. Don't know if some of you guys remember, I interviewed Miles Snyder, who runs an EOS block producer, and he said that's kind of one of the big things about like, and I have no position in EOS, long, short, whatever. I know a lot of people like it, a lot of people don't. But he's like one of the most non-shilly dudes ever that can give you a coherent explanation of EOS and some of the value there. And he was talking just about the popularity in China and how he like went over there and was just like totally shocked about it. And it was like one of the big benefactors to, one of the big benefactors, one of the reasons he was very interested in it in general. So I think like, yeah, as far as my overall knowledge, as far as China leading the adoption, and just that market in general, I'd like to go spend some time there and figure that out in general. Merry Christmas from Romania. Thanks, John. Appreciate it, brother. Merry Christmas from beautiful New Jersey. Should I buy Bitcoin now or should I wait? This is registered, certified financial advice. I mean, this has been my thought process since I I started the YouTube channel, but I always think dollar cost averaging is the best way to do things. Um, and somebody said don't buy BTC, buy ETH. I do think that there is some benefit here right now, um, especially with what's happening with Ethereum in the next month, where I think you might see a continued run up on ETH. So, I mean, if it were me right now, and this is what I'm doing is and what I did was I took some money and bought Bitcoin and took some money and bought ETH. I had a decent chunk of change. I've tweeted about it. I maxed out my IRA, which is the retirement account in the U.S. You can put a max of $5,500 in it on an annual basis. So I did that, and then put an equal amount of Bitcoin and uh, also some Ethereum into that as well. But I think just generally speaking, if you are not a trader, and if you're asking that question, I'm just guessing you're not in a derogatory sense, but if you have, let's say you have $500 to put into Bitcoin or to put into Ethereum, you have $500, put 250 in today, and or whenever, and then if the market drops in the next week, 2 weeks, month, or whatever it is, then you can put $250 in. Then the market goes up, you made money on the first 250, and then you can, it's unfortunate that you're having a higher cost average, but you could also do that as well. Away. I got coffee in me, so I'm feeling it. Minus the fact that little bounce. Need a ledger necklace. I am not going to wear money on my necklace. There's nothing here, nothing on there. But no, that's even like we got a cool wallet, or one of my buddies got one of the cool wallets. It's like a credit card wallet that you can use, and I mean, I guess there's like a differentiating factor too between like how much money you have on some of these on some of these wallets. Like, um, maybe on a cool wallet you have $500 or like less than $1,000 or whatever, a couple $100, like things that if you want to like just have quick access to it, you want to use that somewhere, or on like a mobile wallet, keep a couple $100, maybe keep $1,000, whatever. But like if I have tens of thousands of dollars, I'm not walking around, and I guess the same thing could be said about somebody wearing like a fat engagement ring or like a diamond necklace or something like that. But I'm not going to walk around with a ledger on my neck and be like, yo, I got 100 G's on this thing. Just put a gun to my head and you could take it. Like, no thanks. I haven't gotten a chance to use it, but I've heard good things about it, Max. It's cool wallet, I believe it's called. What do you think about the XRP pairing on Binance? I saw CZ tweet about this, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but they're now making a BTC pair, alt pairs, and then USD pairs, or like USD with a little C next to it or something like that. I don't necessarily. I mean, I guess you could say the same thing about like why do you need Ethereum pairs, and maybe you don't. But I think Ethereum pairs made a lot of sense, and make a lot of sense because a lot of the tokens that trade are built on Ethereum. So, if you have a DEX, basically the way you trade, if you have a DEX, basically the way you trade right now is Ethereum to ERC20. So it was a very natural progression for from the technology to have ETH is dying. Yeah, that's weird. It's up 15% today, silver. But it's a very natural progression to go from ETH to an ERC20 token. On the other end of the spectrum, though, like XRP, and I think Tron, they're adding Tron pairs. Like I just don't understand why you would necessarily need those at all outside of potentially increasing the value of. I don't necessarily understand why you need those outside of potentially increasing the value of Tron or XRP. So it's something that it doesn't really. I think it's kind of like if you really want to. So if you have Tron, or if you have XRP, you have $1,000 worth, and you want to buy some altcoin that there is no Tron or XRP. Why would you not just trade that to Bitcoin, trade that to Ethereum, and then put it back right into, like, from a taxation perspective or anything like that? It's basically the same thing. Like the Bitcoin and Ethereum pair is probably not going to move that fast to where, like, if you have XRP and then you want to buy, see a lot of people talking about Ncash. If you want to buy XRP with Ncash right now, like, or I don't know if that's a future pair or not, or if it is right now, I don't have Binance open, but if, like, you would just take XRP, go buy Bitcoin, and then buy Bitcoin or buy Ncash with Bitcoin. There's probably not going to be enough volatility there for that to make any of a difference. And the order books on, I would imagine, and maybe there's going to be there's definitely going to be market makers, especially on Binance. But there's definitely going to be market makers providing liquidity. I'm assuming, but still, the books, even on a lot of the ETH pairings now, like the vast majority of the liquidity is on Bitcoin pairs. So that's something you still want to think about is like, what's the most liquid trade pair? Like, you don't want to, if you're buying or selling $100 for this something, it doesn't matter. But if you have $5,000 and you want to, move in and out of a position, you don't want to go on some illiquid shit book and have trouble doing that. So we'll look at some of these questions here. Have I ever gifted BTC for Christmas? I'm giving my dad a paper wallet. I have not done it for Christmas. I have gifted my friends Bitcoin. The easiest way, actually, in my opinion, I know a lot of people don't always like Coinbase, and Coinbase does some things that people don't like, yada, yada, yada. But I think one of the easiest ways to give somebody Bitcoin if they have no Bitcoin is to send them Bitcoin in Coinbase, and all you need is their email address. So basically, what you do is you're like, "Yo, what's your email address?" And you take your email address and you could send them 10, 20, whatever, $50 worth of Bitcoin. It goes to their email, and then all they have to do is sign up for Coinbase. So that was nobody wants Bitcoin from me right now, but like back in November, December, January, February, whatever, when people are going nuts, and I would talk to people and I would talk to my friends, and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, like how do you do this thing?" I would just say, "What's your email?" Give them, take their email, send them money via Bitcoin, and then all they'd have to do is click on the link from Coinbase in their email, and they could do that. So better than lottery tickets that they will just throw away. I am the most anti-lottery dude ever. For somebody who has like too much money in shitcoins and just cryptocurrency in general, like I could not be less interested in seeing like the Mega Millions at $350 million. I just look at that. I'm like, there's 0.000% chance I'd ever win anything with this. It's the dumbest thing ever. People love the lottery. People love the lottery. So maybe cryptocurrency is just the millennial lottery. Who knows? But you won't shout me out. What do we got here? Uh, that was bet you won't or but you won't. But shout out Romeo. What's up, brother? There was too many points in that, but you get the point. No pun intended. How was Bitcoin talk? It was good. It was good. It was fun. I was very very happy to be. I mean, there's really awesome people. Those guys are really great too. Like Dumb, Not So Fast, Need a Coin, like just all the people that they always have. I mean, they're pretty cool dudes that I would love to have a beer with. So I don't think I've met any of them in person. I don't think I've met any of them in person yet, but they were really good dudes and funny as shit. So I was happy to be on Shitcoin Talk. Fun to be invited to that for sure. Yeah, Kobe does actually look like Kobe. Shit makes sense, right? Who are you? I don't know. Tell me. How's the Costa node? Costa node's cool. Works really well. Still, like if you set it up and just run it on autopilot, it works pretty well. You're not going to make any money from it. It's not like it's still. I don't want to say it's very experimental. Like the team is awesome. Casa, they have a Telegram group where you can. They have a Telegram group that's like pretty active, where if you need help setting it up or anything like that, they will definitely help you with that. So they're fantastic. I think they're trying to continually like build out and improve it. But it's just a fun, cool piece of tech that I was happy to pay some money for. So LMAO, Timmy. Wouldn't you like to know, Timmy? Wouldn't you like to know, bro? Take a guess, homie. Uh, Not my curtains, man. Not my curtains. And so what's XRP to stand? So let's shoot it over to you to get a little bit of a gauge of market sentiment here now as well. Do I own XRP? No. I might have like 5 XRP from like the XRP tip bot, but I've never claimed that. I'm gonna burn those. I'm gonna burn the supply. What do you think of that? I don't know. But getting to, I guess we'll kick off with this question here. Um, January 1st, are we higher or lower Bitcoin and higher or lower Ethereum? I would love to hear just kind of your thoughts on that. Do you feel like we're going to be above, let's say, are we going to be above 4,200 Bitcoin? Are we going to be above 150 ETH? Or are we going to be lower by January 1st? So, like a week. Okay, are we going to actually get a Christmas pamp or not? I think higher. That's me repeating a question. 44, 170. I would like that above both. What's the future look like for XMR? So I'm reading these responses as well. Uh, I still hold a decent amount of Monero. I hold Monero and Zcash. Uh, I do think that if you guys haven't checked out Grin and like the whole Mimblewimble, a lot of the stuff happening with Mimblewimble, I think there's another one. I think it's Beam or Bean. That's happening with Grin, or that's happening with Mimblewimble. But I do think that Grin is going to be increased competition both for Zcash and for Monero. It's Beam. There we go. Thank you, Stefan. But so I think Grin and Beam are going to be increased competition. It's approaching things in a different manner, but I don't. I think one of the interesting things that, at least in the case of Grin, is I believe they have a very high inflation rate off the bat to essentially disincentivize holding and to encourage people to transact in Grin. It sounds great in theory. I wonder if like basically Grin is trying to make it not a speculative asset. Grin is trying to say, okay, this is going to be a privacy coin. We actually want people to use this shit because like, what's the deal with a privacy coin if nobody is actually transacting in it? So we're going to, put everything into, we're going to put an inflation rate and an inflation schedule into the mix that disincentivizes people from just holding on to it, because if they do hold on to it in 3 months, it's going to be less valuable than what it was now. So I wonder how that will affect Grin in competition against a Monero or against a Zcash, or just generally speaking, how good the tech is versus the other two. From a lot of people, I think that just from my overall perspective, like Monero has the kind of hardcore. Monero has like the hardcore privacy advocate kind of focus, and there's a little bit maybe more emphasis on decentralization there. There's less. There's kind of less, I would say, maybe like less risk about centralization. Like with Zcash, you have the Zcash Foundation, you have the 20% founders reward. There's a lot of things about Zcash that people don't like. It's also optional privacy. It's opt-in privacy, not opt-out. Like Monero is automatically private. There's a huge benefit to that. I think less than 10% of Zcash transactions are actually shielded transactions, so they're private. So I think Monero still kind of, in my opinion, with the inflation rate that Zcash has, as well as the fact that it's still opt-in privacy, it is interesting. The one thing that happens with Zcash is I feel like you've seen it. Um, you see Zcash on Gemini. I think it's on Coinbase now as well. Monero is probably not going to be that way ever, unless you see that it is, unless people do what they do with Bittrex, where you have like a unique ring identifier or something like that, where they could basically tell. It's like an additional input that they require you to determine kind of where your stuff is going. So I think OMG will hit $5 by January. I have no idea where OMG is going. And one thing that's interesting too is so somebody said, and Grin is spotted by banks and legit companies for some reasons. So there's actually a lot of, I would say, strong interest by like institutional, or not institutional, by crypto funds in Grin. There's a lot of like tech forward thinking crypto funds that are really interested in Grin and setting up Grin mining operations. Grin is going to be mined. And it's one of the things where Grin is like doing, I think, in my opinion, Grin is almost like trying to do everything right, where they're trying to have this like fair launch to the point where like I think there was a point in time, and I don't know if they solved this, but they literally like weren't able to pay pay the number of developers that they wanted to, because they simply didn't have the money, because they're not doing an ICO, they're not raising money, etc. So they're trying to do a fair launch, and because even with them trying to do a fair launch, you have like these funds that are really getting set up like from day one. So the second the Grin network goes live, they are going to be mining the living shit out of this thing, and presumably making money based off of either speculative mining on that, or just kind of buying that and providing liquidity on the market. So regardless of how fair somebody tries to make a launch, I think Grin will be an example, and we'll see exactly how it works. But I think Grin will be an example that it doesn't always that people with large bank accounts are always going to be able to take the fullest advantage of it. And guys, outside of that, to probably go eat lunch or breakfast or whatever time it is now. But I appreciate all the questions today. I will, if there's anything happening tomorrow at all, I will definitely try to pop in live in a similar scenario. Unfortunately, I don't have all my gear and stuff like that, so you see me in this weird room with a Christmas tree behind me. But yeah, it might be buffalo chicken wrap time or buffalo chicken sandwich, because I don't think there's any good buffalo chicken wraps in the area of Jersey that I'm in. So outside of that, Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy holidays to anybody who's celebrating. And I hope you have a fantastic day or night wherever you're watching in from. Enjoy the day. Peace, everybody.